Hello, everyone, and thank you for coming to today's Play Attention webinar. My name is Gwen, and I will be your host today. I'm really glad to have all of you here today. We're going to be talking about healthy habits to improve executive function. And this is a great time to have this discussion because, of course, many of us right now are thinking about our goals for the new year. We're reflecting on our lifestyle and thinking about changes we want to make. So we're going to talk about some things that we can do, some small steps that you can take even today that will lay the ground for strong executive function. So a couple of things before we get started. If you have a double view of my image, if you have a view at the bottom and then a smaller one at the top, if you would just click the underscore up on the image of me at the top, and that will hide that second view. Also, we are recording this event. So at the end of the webinar, really within about 24 hours, you'll receive an email that will have a link for the replay. So that way you'll be able to share this webinar with any staff members or family members who were unable to attend the live event. Again, my name is Gwen, and I am glad you are here. So as we talked about just a little bit ago, we were discussing how you're thinking about some goals. So what are some of your goals for the new year? Are you wanting to improve your focus? Maybe you're looking to improve your memory, or perhaps you'd like to be more productive. Maybe you just simply want to improve executive function overall so that you don't have to work so hard. No matter what your goals are, we're going to be talking about ways that you can help your mind be in a focused, calm state, and that will help you reach your goals. Tammy says that she is focused on productivity for the new year. Great. Well, Tammy, some of these things that we're going to talk about today will definitely help you along that path. Now, as we mentioned when we sent out our emails and gave you a call before this webinar, it is going to be interactive. So I'd like you, if you haven't already, make certain that you have a pen and a piece of paper. So not a tablet, not just your computer, because we're not going to be taking notes. We're going to be doing interactive exercises. So if you would grab a pen, a crayon, a pencil, and a piece of paper so that we can be interactive right now. The very first thing I want you to do on your paper, I want you to just draw a line down the paper so that you have two columns, okay? That's the first step. Just draw a line and divide your paper into two columns. Okay. Now I'm going to give you 20 seconds on the clock. And in those 20 seconds, in your first column, I want you to list all of your strengths, your positive characteristics. Go ahead. And stop. Okay, now you have two columns. So I'm going to give you another 20 seconds. And in the next column, the column right next to it, I want you to list all of your weaknesses or things you want to improve. Ready? Go ahead. Fill that second column. And stop. Okay, put your pens down. And I want you to look at your two lists. Now, raise your hand if it was easier for you to fill out the negative list. Which list was easier for you? I'm just going to give you some time to respond. Raise your hand, and remember, I can't see you, so there's a raise your hand icon down below. All right. Many of you, and they're still coming in, many of you are saying that it was easier for you to fill out that negative list. And that is very common. You know, our brains tend to dwell on negative experiences rather than the positive experiences. And this is known in the world of psychology as negativity bias, that we really do tend to think about the negative things much easier. And, you know, you may see that in your day to day when you ask someone how their day went. Typically, the first thing they'll list off are all the negative things that happened instead of the positive things. The problem with that is that when we fixate on negative thoughts about ourselves or the world around us, it actually strengthens the neural pathways for negative thinking. And negative thinking directly affects your executive function. Negative thinking decreases your ability to focus. It definitely affects, in a negative way, your memory. It will cause you to have a difficult time to develop positive relationships with others. So we really have to focus on changing those neural pathways. We want to move them from the negative to the positive, because if we have a more positive mindset, then we will be able to improve our executive function. But this is sometimes difficult to do. We have to actively engage ourselves in this process, because as Dr. Hansen, who is a neuroscientist and the author of Hardwiring Happiness, as he explains, our brain processes negative experiences and information very differently from positive experiences. He says that the brain is like Velcro for negative experiences, right? We have a negative experience and it seems to stick with us, right? Whereas it's Teflon for positive experiences. When we have a positive experience, it's easy to forget it. And there is a biological reason for this. The amygdala, which is part of your brain, is like the alarm system of your brain. And it spends, or it uses 2/3 of its neurons to search for bad news. And once bad news is found, then the alarm system goes off, and immediately that negative experience or that bad news is put into our memory system. And that was really useful for us when we were hunters and gatherers, and we may have had a really bad experience with a saber-toothed tiger. We wanted that experience to stick with us, right? We wanted it to be immediately processed so that we wouldn't make the same mistake again. We wouldn't have that same experience. It was a matter of survival. But now our negative experiences and that negative information that's coming in is very different, but the brain processes it the same way. And it is very different from how it processes positive experiences or positive information. It actually takes us 12 seconds to hold that information in our awareness, at least 12 seconds to hold it in our awareness in order for that positive experience or that good information to process from our short-term memory to our long-term memory. So that means in order to remember praise, in order to remember a great experience, you have to focus on that for at least 12 seconds. Have you ever thought about that? Have you ever considered that? When someone gives you a positive praise, that you have to actually focus on that information for at least 12 seconds before it becomes part of your memory system. Whereas if someone gives you criticism, that will typically immediately go into your memory system. So it is an active process that we have to be aware of. So one of the first things that we can do in order to start wiring our brains to think more positively is to start your day, start your morning with positive affirmations. Regular repetition encourages your brain to take your positive affirmations as fact. So the more you repeat positive affirmations to yourself, you will begin believing that. Your brain will take it as fact. And if you believe you are capable, if you believe that you can do a specific skill, you are more apt to take action on that. And that is really important. So let's start by using your morning time, first thing in the morning, to begin your morning with affirmations. And there are some things that you can do to help affirmations work for you. One is just start with about 3 to 5 minutes upon waking, and then repeat each affirmation about 10 times. Remember, the repetition is important. And as you repeat it, really listen to what you're saying and believe that it is true. And remember that repetition is important because it's going to be at least 12 seconds for you to remember that. You can also ask a friend or a family member to say the affirmations to you, because if someone is saying something to you, giving you positive praise, it's more likely that you will believe it. And that's important for you to keep in mind so that you can give your spouse positive affirmations, or give your children or a friend those positive affirmations. My husband, throughout the day at random times, will say, "Did I tell you I love you? Did I tell you that today?" And then he'll say positive things about me. And even though I probably roll my eyes, I do enjoy that time. But it's important for that repetition of positive affirmations, right? And you can do that for your spouse, your friends, your family members, and make this routine consistent, okay? Make certain it becomes a habit, a healthy habit, because remember, you're creating new neural pathways for positive thinking, for a positive state of mind. And be patient, because changes aren't going to happen quickly. It's going to take time. And I think really important to keep in mind is that last point I have on this screen, and that is action is key. So it is great to have positive outlook and to believe that you can do something, but you have to take action to back it up, right? So you could have a positive affirmation that is, "I am the most capable person for this job opening. I am going to be the best applicant, and they are going to hire me." You believe that to be true, and that is going to be very helpful. But you still have to prepare yourself for that job interview and show up to the job interview on time. So set the stage with positive affirmations and then take that action. And the more you believe in yourself and your abilities, then your actions will follow. And when you fill your mind with positive things, then there are many benefits, not just in your mind, but your overall health. We found that there is an increased lifespan, lower rates of depression, lower levels of distress, greater resistance to the common cold. So it actually helps your immune system, better psychological and physical well-being, better cardiovascular health, and better coping skills in times of stress. So that's our very first healthy habit. And that's easy enough, right? Just as you wake up, maybe 3 to 5 minutes stating those positive affirmations and changing those neural pathways from the negative to the positive. Now, our next exercise, I want you to get that pen out again and write down the first 4 things you do every morning. Okay, just write down the first 4 things you do every morning. Okay, and stop. Now, how many of you, and you can use the raise your hand icon, how many of you said in that list, wrote down, check my email, check my phone? How many of you? It's probably a vast majority of us, unfortunately. Many of you are saying that you check your phone. Some of you are saying no. Crystal just typed in no. But many of us are guilty of checking our phones or checking our email the very first thing in the morning. And you don't want to make that a habit, because when you do that, when you check your email, you check your phone, you're actually letting others, you're letting advertisements or the daily news direct your thoughts and set your mood for the day. And most of the time, that information that you're processing from your email or your phone first thing in the morning is going to be negative, right? And you want to limit the distractions and unnecessary stress. Now, Nola says, I'm not seeing anything over on this side. Hopefully all of you are seeing my slides. Is anyone not, are other people not seeing the slides? Okay, yes. All right, great. So I'm glad. Nola, I'm not certain, you may need to log back in, okay? So again, what we want to do is make certain that we start our day with a positive mindset. And this might be difficult for some of you to stop checking your email or stop checking your phone first thing in the morning, because it is an addiction, right? For many people, checking your email is an addiction. It's like gambling. There's that variable rate, right? In that the next email I get is going to be the email I want to see. And so you keep checking your email. And so that is very common for us to become addicted to checking our email, checking our phone. But let's step aside and actually start working towards a positive state of mind in the morning, because a positive morning routine will actually lead to more focused, productive, and successful days. There are some benefits to having a calm morning. You're going to reduce your daily stress. You're going to have an opportunity, because if you take the time to have a calm morning, that means some time just for yourself. You're going to be able to gather your thoughts uninterrupted. It gives you quiet time to get into that positive state of mind. And it gives your mind and your body time to transition before you have to actually interact with others. So here are some steps you can start taking to work towards that calm morning. One is give yourself time, right? Because right now you might be waking up just exactly when you have to get up, right? And so you don't have time for that transition. You don't have time for that calmness. You immediately have to get up and start interacting with others. So this means you might have to set your alarm or plan to wake up a little bit earlier. But if you are waking up a little bit earlier, make certain that you are going to bed a little bit earlier, because we still want to get, at least 9 hours of sleep every night. So make certain you think about what you want to do in the morning and what time you would have to get up in order for that to happen. Then develop your morning tradition. Now, everyone's morning tradition will be different. So it may be yoga for some of you. It may be just some quiet time with your dog and snuggling in. It may be reading your favorite novel. It may be just drinking some tea by yourself. Think about what can your morning tradition be? And depending on your time, it can be just a short amount of time, or it could be a longer amount of time. So think about your morning tradition. And if this is a difficult time for you, then start small. And then once you get your morning tradition going, maybe you can add on later. Once you find your morning tradition, protect it. That means don't let others interfere. Don't let that phone interfere. Don't let others in the family interfere. Protect that morning tradition. Make certain they know this is your time and you need just that time before you start interacting. Also, you want to prepare as much as you can the night before, because if you prepare, let's say lunches, backpacks, your personal briefcase, what everyone's going to wear the next day, if you can take care of that the night before, there's less to do first thing in the morning, so you won't be rushing around. And when we start rushing around and trying to find items we need for the day, we no longer have that calmness. And also, of course, as we've discussed, try to eliminate devices and distractions as much as possible. All right, so now we're going to start with positive affirmations, and we're going to work on calm mornings, and that's already setting the stage for learning, for focus, for strong executive function. Okay, now I want you to grab your pen again and then follow my instructions. We're going to draw simple circles. Don't start yet. Listen to all the instructions before you start, okay? Now we're going to draw simple circles, but as we draw them, what I want you to do is just really focus on drawing the circle, okay? I want you to watch your pen as it moves across the paper. And if you hear any sounds, I want you to be aware of them. And I want you to make certain that you always close the circle, even if it's imperfect and it looks more like an egg. I want you to always close the circle, because that means that you've been paying attention to where you start and where you end. So make certain you always close that circle. Also, we're going to work in a counterclockwise position. So I want you to start at the top and we're going to go counterclockwise. So you're going to move to the left. And as you move to the left, I want you to simply breathe in, pay attention to your breathing. And when you get to the base, then start breathing out and close that circle. Okay, breathe in and breathe out. Let's just do this for 20 seconds. I'm going to do it on mine as well. If other thoughts, other than the process of drawing your circle, if other thoughts come into your mind, acknowledge them, but let them go. Let's not start thinking about when your next meeting is or what you're going to have for lunch. Let it go. All right. And let's begin. Remember to breathe in and breathe out and close your circle. And stop. Close your circle and stop. Good. Now, do you realize that you did an exercise in mindfulness and breathing? And I want you to be aware of that, because probably many of you here have stated in the past, I can't practice mindfulness. I don't understand what it means when they say focus on your breathing. It can be as simple as what we just did. And we just did that for 20 seconds, but it can have a real impact on calming your mind, helping you become more focused and more present. Because if you're like most of us, we've become distracted over the years. We are no longer able to stay in the present moment. And when that starts occurring and that starts to become our lifestyle, right? We created those pathways for distraction and leaving the present moment, then it negatively affects our executive function. When we can be more present, then you're going to be more focused. You're going to be able to remember your information, instructions. You're going to develop more positive relationships, because if you're trying to have a conversation with someone and you cannot be present, then it's going to be very difficult for you to develop lasting positive relationships. It also causes you to have a lack of impulse control, right? If you are not in the present moment, then you're typically rushing through things, you're impulsive, you make mistakes very easily. So it can even lead to accidents. You really want to practice. And this is, again, something that you can do actively. But again, it doesn't have to take up a lot of time. It can be something, if you do that mindful drawing that we just did, notice that we did mindful drawing and mindful breathing all at the same time. You can do this for just 1 minute before you transition into a meeting. Maybe with your child, just practice that before you start homework for the evening. And what you're going to find is that you're calming the mind and you're becoming more present and more focused. So that's one simple activity you can do to start teaching yourself how to be more mindful and focus on your breathing and slow that mind down. Now, you can do mindfulness throughout your day without setting a specific time aside for mindfulness. You could do mindful eating. So, we all have gotten into bad habits where during our lunch or during our dinner, we watch TV, we read our book, we check our email. And so we're doing all sorts of other things along with eating. So we're not in the present moment. We barely taste what we have in front of us because we're doing all kinds of other things. Mindful eating is when you just focus on the eating process. You focus on looking at what you have on your fork. You focus on the fork all the way to your mouth. You focus on the sensations, the taste, the smell, and that's all you pay attention to. So you can incorporate mindful eating into your day very easily. And again, if you can train yourself, if you can create those new neural pathways for that being in the present moment, it's going to help you develop strong executive function. We also have developed a program within Play Attention called Lotus. And Lotus allows you to practice mindfulness. Because like I said earlier, many of you have probably said in the past, I can't practice mindfulness. I can't practice deep breathing. And, we hear so much about how mindfulness helps with the symptoms of ADHD. But you're right. We can't just look at someone with ADHD and say, now I want you to practice mindfulness, because mindfulness is difficult. It's difficult for all of us, but especially when your mind is typically scattered. But you can do it if we make accommodations, right? Like with our drawing, we had a very specific thing to focus on. With our mindfulness application called Lotus, remember, within Play Attention, you're going to be wearing the body wave armband. And that body wave armband has sensors on it. And those sensors are monitoring your brain activity that tells us when you are focused or when you are in the present moment. And you'll see that lotus flower. You see it on the left-hand side of the screen. You'll see that lotus flower. And once you have your mind in the present moment, the petal on the lotus flower will start to open. If you start thinking about what you're going to make for dinner, what time you have to pick up the kids, when's your next meeting, then that petal will start to close. And you know that you're no longer in that present moment. So we are giving you a visual representation of what it means to be in the now. And so that's going to help you develop that ability to stay in the present moment. And that is, again, our mindfulness app called Lotus. If you want more information on that, because I know some of you are current clients and perhaps you haven't incorporated that into your Play Attention program yet, you can type in Lotus and we'll reach out to you with a little bit more information on that application and how to incorporate that into your sessions. Now, our next activity, I want you to think about your day yesterday. Okay, think about what you did during the day. And now I want you to list all of the activities other than sleeping, driving, or eating that did not involve a screen. Okay, list everything you did on your paper, but don't write down sleeping, driving, or eating. List everything else you did that did not involve a screen. And if you'd like, you can type something in the chat box for me to see. Just go ahead and do that. And I'm going to give you about 10 more seconds. Okay, now look at your list. And in the chat box, I want you to tell me, okay, tell me how many things you did that did not involve a screen. Was it 1, 2, 3, 4, 0? How many things did you do yesterday that did not include a screen? Oh, Julian, 7. Very good. That's impressive. Patricia, 3. Sandy, 3 to 4. Eileen, 5 things. Cassandra, 2. Tammy, 5. Geraldine, 1. 3. Melanie says 5. Logan says, I only got 1 thing written down, but I know there's more. Very good. So it looks like our top person here is Charlene, who actually did 7 things without looking at a screen. But many of us were right in the 1 to 4 range. And think about it. How much time did those things actually take, do you think? In a 24-hour period, you probably did very few things. For the most part, most of us did very few things that did not involve a screen. So let's think about screen time, because screen time, all screen time is not created equally, right? There is quality screen time. Perhaps you're doing your play attention session, right? And your play attention session is all low stimuli types of activities. You're working on specific cognitive skills that lay the foundation for strong executive function. So that's quality screen time. And you're only doing your sessions maybe 15, 20 minutes at a time. Or perhaps you have to be on your screen for work. Probably most of us do. Or your child is doing e-learning and has to be on the screens for e-learning time. That's all time that we need, quality time. But then once we're done with that quality screen time, it's really important to focus on what's truly important and let go of the rest. And we can only do that when we step away from the screens most of the time. That really helps us step away from the screen time, the devices, and focus on what is important. Connect with others around you. And there are many health benefits, of course, to stepping away from screens. You have improved physical health, decreased obesity, increased time to try new things. Because if you're not so engrossed in that screen time, then you can actually try new things like learning an instrument or reading a new book. You'll have improved mood and enhanced relationships, all of which sets the stage for learning and a healthy brain. Now, some steps to decrease your screen time, very simple. Be realistic, first of all, because right now, if you look at your screen time, and you could actually maybe take notes, because maybe you're not really certain how much time you're spending on a screen. And if you actually notate how much time you spend on some type of screen, it may surprise you. And so if you're spending, let's say, 12 hours on a screen during the day, then it's not realistic to say, I'm going to go from 12 to 5, right? Set mini goals, small achievable goals to decrease that screen time. Go outside. When you go outside and you move, you're going to release endorphins, which actually puts you in a better state of mind. It makes you happier. Even yesterday, when I was developing this webinar, I spent some time on my screen, of course, making the slides, but then I recorded myself, and then I went outside and I took a walk and I listened. And just being outside, I was still working, but I was taking a break. I was outside, my mood improved, my focus definitely improved. So think about how you can work that into your day and get that outdoor time, because green time is important for our mental health. And create a device-free zone. One of the easiest ways to have at least one device-free zone is during dinner. Make certain that everyone turns off their devices during dinner and has dinner together. And when you have dinner together, you're going to improve communication skills. You're going to have better relationships. You're going to improve focus. You can have an opportunity to actually enjoy that time together and find out more about what happened during that person's day. And you can practice those positive affirmations. There's all kinds of good things that happen during a device-free dinner time. And have board game night. Instead of spending a night watching TV, designate at least one night a week where you're having board game night, because board games really do help developing executive function. If you think about the different board games, you have to communicate, you have to plan and prioritize, you have to do problem solving, you have to have good impulse control, you have to focus, you have to remember the instructions. So much goes into a board game that you've probably never really thought about. So make certain you have at least one night where you're playing board games as a family. Okay, next 15 seconds on the clock. When you get hungry in between meals, what do you typically grab for a snack? Okay, be honest. What do you typically grab for a snack? And you can type a couple things into the chat box if you want, or just write them down on your paper. About 8 more seconds. Okay, good. Now stop. Okay. Now I have some good responses here and a good mix of things. And I want you to raise your hand. When you look at your list, raise your hand, use the raise your hand icon if there are things on your list that are salty, sugary, or processed. Ooh, that number went up quickly right there. Okay, let's see. And for those of you who typed in, some of you did good choices like carrots and pistachios. Some of you wrote down chips, coffee, sweet pastry. Whatever I see was Juliet. Kina said cookies, but also nuts. Nuts are good. Nichelle, celery, carrots, very good. Yogurt, excellent. So some of you are making good choices, and some of us, that is very typical. We grab something very fast, right? Something fast, which is usually something sugary, something sweet, or something processed. So let's rethink our snack time and start snacking smart. Because if you are having healthy snacks and you're eating healthy foods, then it's going to truly help with your focus, with your memory, with developing that healthy brain. And our snacks should be very high in omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acids. Now, of course, I have a list here of some suggestions. Of course, they should be things that you enjoy. So if you had mostly sugary things on your list, you may want to start reassessing what you want to prepare for your snacks. And it does take some preparation. So you're going to have to use your executive function for planning, right? You have to plan, you have to organize what you're going to make. So some choices may be guacamole with vegetables, almond butter or peanut butter on whole grain crackers, whole plain milk yogurt. Okay, if your yogurt has a list of ingredients, that's not the yogurt for you. You want whole milk, plain yogurt, and you can add fruit. That would be great. Nuts and seeds, lots of you put on nuts or seeds on your list. Hard-boiled egg, that's good protein, or hummus with veggie sticks. But again, you have to plan for this, right? Because these things aren't going to be really quick to grab. And probably most of us, we're not going to stop our workday to peel a cucumber and cut it up, right? So these are things you'll have to plan for and prep ahead of time. But once you get into that routine and you have those things on hand, you're going to notice that you are more alert, that you are better able to get over that little slump that we have in the afternoon. It is going to help with your brain health and your overall health. Okay, now I want you to write down 3 things you are grateful for. 3 things you're grateful for. You can write them on your paper. If you want to type a few things in for me to look at, you can. I always enjoy that, but 3 things you're grateful for. I'll give you a few more seconds. Okay, good. Now, as we started this webinar, it's important that we actively take steps to change our mindset from a negative mindset, which we're prone to do, because remember, we talked about how the brain is like Velcro for negative experiences. So we have to actively take steps to change our mindsets from that negative mindset to a positive one. So we talked about starting our day with those positive affirmations. Let's end our day with gratitude. And gratitude is simply taking time to think about all of the positive things in your life. As we talked about earlier, it's easy to talk about the negative things. So at night, actively think about all of the positive things. Nola said, my daughter. Melanie said, family, health, career. So think about those positive things as you end your day. If you do this, if you end your day with gratitude, then it actually may help you sleep better. Because if you put your head down on your pillow and you have lots of negative thoughts going through your mind, then you're more apt to toss and turn and wake up in the middle of the night. And a lack of sleep has a negative impact on your executive function. If you do not get enough sleep, then of course, sleepiness is going to cause a lack of focus. Also, you may not have realized it, but when you are sleeping, your brain is working overtime. You may be asleep, but your brain is very, very active. And what it's doing is it's taking all of the information that you gathered throughout the day, all of your experiences, and your brain is categorizing that. You're asleep, but your brain is busy categorizing all of that information. It's pruning away things you don't need, but new information. It's taking all that new information and it's assimilating it with prior knowledge. And it is putting it into files for you, taking it from short-term memory into long-term memory. So many of you have reported to us that you have a hard time with working memory, or you have a difficult, or your child has a difficult time with working memory. It came up on the assessment. And if you are not going to get enough sleep, then it's going to negatively affect your executive function, your working memory. So it is important we take steps to ensure a good night's sleep. So consider starting a gratitude journal. So just put a journal, can be just a piece of paper next to your bedstand, or on your bedstand, so that you don't forget to have some time before you go to sleep to write down things you are grateful for. And I'm going to give you your first prompt for tonight. I want you to, before you go to bed, list 3 things that always put a smile on your face. That's your first gratitude journal prompt, okay? Go ahead and list those. I wish I could see them. So maybe tomorrow you could send me an email and let me know what those were. But list the 3 things that always put a smile on your face. Try to let go of the negative things that happened that day and focus on the positive. So we've talked a lot about a bunch of different things so far to help you lay the foundation for strong executive function. Now I want you to be very specific and write 5 cognitive skills or areas of executive function you would like to improve. Go ahead and write them down. It might be your memory, it might be focus, it might be impulse control, social skills, organization, emotion regulation. Write down what you would like to improve, or maybe you're considering your child. What would you like to help your child improve, or your clients or your students? Go ahead and write down at least 5 things. And like we did before, if you want to type some in the chat box, you can. And I really appreciate all of you being interactive with me today. All right, I'll give you about 5 more seconds. Okay, good. Excellent. Okay, so a lot of you are typing in what you would like to improve. Jeannie says impulse control. Tammy's considering her teenager with emotion regulation. Julian says memory, focus, organization, social skills, reading, retention. Excellent. Let's see. I can't really. Maura says task completion and follow through. Good. Bill says listening to spouse without interrupting. Bill, that's an excellent example of what we were talking about earlier, right? And not only impulse control, but being in the present moment. Excellent. Angie says, I'd like my daughter to improve her homework, remembering to do it and turning it in. Very good. Crystal says time management. Kina, organization, focus, memory. Melanie says working memory and organization. Kina also says social skills. Okay, so many of you already know what areas, what cognitive skills or areas of executive function you would like to improve. Now, if you are unsure, if you're thinking, I'm not really sure what areas I would like to improve, or I see my child struggling in different areas, but I don't know specifically what needs to be improved, right? Because some of you said reading or retention. So with that, is it that we need to improve focus, or do we need to learn how to filter distractions? Is it the reading process itself? Is it that they're so impulsive, they're just skimming the page rather than actually paying attention to the written word and processing the information? Is it processing speed? So what are the skills? If you're unsure of what areas you would like to improve this year, then we do have a couple of assessments available to help. really pinpoint those different cognitive areas that you may want to look to improve. And those assessments include the focus assessment, which is a norm reference test of attentional control. It does take 20 minutes and it is computer based. And at the end of those 20 minutes, we receive a full report here that tells us how you performed, or your child performed, or your student performed, compared to the performance of your peers. And then we can use that information and follow up with a conversation to review the results and talk about how we can customize a plan to help improve those areas. So we have the focus available. We also have the brief available, which is a behavior rating of executive function. So that's a survey, an online survey that you would fill out, or the teacher might fill out. If you have an older child above the age of 13, they can do a self-assessment. And that gives us a good overview of executive function. And again, with any of these assessments, we always follow up with a conversation to discuss the results and then actually take and make a plan to help you improve. Sorry about that. I distracted myself by looking at people's comments. So those assessments are available. Again, focus, where the end result in focus is we look at consistency, performance, impulse control, and ability to deal with distractors, both auditory and visual, which obviously I was just visually distracted. So that is a really good assessment of attentional control. And then the brief, which is an overview or a behavior rating of executive function. Each assessment is typically $50, but with this webinar special, we are providing those assessments at half price for everyone here today. So if you're interested in one or both of those assessments, along with a follow-up with one of our professionals, then just type in assessment and we will follow up with you to discuss those results. All right, now Logan says, do you take focus assessment with or without your medication? Logan, you can decide that. Oftentimes I recommend that we do the focus assessment without. So maybe first thing in the morning or in the evening. We have some people who don't take their medication on the weekends. Whatever we decide to do, we want to keep the conditions the same, right? So if you do the pre-assessment without medication, then we'd want to do a mid and a post without as well. So I sometimes recommend without, but you can make that decision. And we can talk to you about that a little bit more so that you can decide what you would like to do. Okay. All right. Excellent. And if you are typing in assessment, just know that we will get back to you about the assessment process and how you can take advantage of that. Now, once we look and we assess what areas we want to work on, then we will customize a play attention plan for you, because it's not enough to just say, I want to improve social skills and working memory and my ability to pay attention under stressful conditions, or to improve my social interactions. It is important that we then have a plan where we can actually develop those skills that are necessary for strong executive function. And we do this in a very unique way. You notice this, one of our students here, Alex, he has on that body wave armband. And of course, that body wave armband is monitoring his attention. That tells us his brain activity, that tells us how attentive he is. And then that information is given over to the computer, where he actually controls all of these cognitive areas just with his mind, or more specifically, his attention alone. And he receives constant and immediate feedback as to whether or not he truly is focused and paying attention. So we integrate feedback technology where you have to activate all of these cognitive exercises with your attentive state. You have to be actively engaged in the learning process in order to work on memory, task completion, social skills, visual tracking, auditory processing. And again, you might not need all of these exercises. That's where the customization comes in. And that's where the assessment really helps, where we can assess your particular needs. So that is the assessment combined with a plan of action where we can address your specific needs. We're also going to be offering live online sessions coming in January 2022, which is just around the corner. So starting Monday, you'll be able to have live online sessions with our Play Attention certified professionals. And they will be able to do live play attention sessions with you. So whether you are a new client or if you've had play attention for several months, if you want one of our professionals to do a live training session with you, this is a great opportunity for you. And everyone is going to receive their first live online session for half price. So if you are a current client or you've been looking into doing play attention and you want more information on those online sessions, just type in online sessions and we'll talk to you about that. But they're really exciting because we can see your live streaming data. We can talk to you. We can see each other through video chat. And it's a great opportunity for you to start your program, or if you are looking to re-energize your program with yourself or your child, it's a great opportunity for you as well. And I see that we have a lot of our current clients. Jeannie, online session would be fabulous for you. I know you've been doing play attention for quite some time, so that might be a great opportunity for you to interact with one of our professionals on one of your sessions. Okay. So again, let's just reflect. I know I gave you a lot of information. So let's reflect on everything we discussed today, all of those healthy habits we discussed. And, you know, they're not that difficult. They don't take up a lot of time. So look at the list and maybe on your paper, write down one last thing. Write down at least one thing that you can take away from today's webinar and incorporate into your daily routine. Maybe you could even start it today. So start your day with positive affirmations, revamp your morning routine. Remember, think about that morning tradition you want to start. Practice mindfulness and focus on your breathing. If you can't think about what you want to do or you don't have a lot of time, do those circles that we talked about. Focus on that process and your breathing. Decrease your screen time, snack smart, end your day with gratitude so that you drift off to sleep with a calm, relaxed mind, and start or enhance your play attention program. I hope that you can select at least one thing that you can start today. And hopefully, when I send you this replay, maybe you'll look at it again and think about some other things that you can incorporate later on, right? Start small and gradually build these different things into your day-to-day. So there are a few last steps. I know that many of you need to jump because we've gone for about an hour now, but there are some last steps for you to consider. You can start or expand your play attention program. If you want more information on starting your program or expanding your program, incorporating some new activities like Lotus, just type in your phone number and we will contact you to talk about starting or expanding your program. If you want to complete the assessment and you have not typed in assessment yet, go ahead and type in assessment and we'll reach out to you for that assessment. Remember, the assessments are half price and we will have that follow-up, usually about a half an hour. If you just want to have the consultation and you don't want the assessment, but you want to talk about your specific needs, type down consultation and we will bring you through a full consultation to talk about your specific needs and how we can make a plan of action for you. If you just have a few questions and you just want a really quick call, not a full consultation, because consultations are usually about 45 minutes. Because we're going to learn a little bit more about you, your needs, talk about the technology, the process. So that takes a little bit longer. If you just want a quick call to answer some questions, type down quick call, and we will give you a quick call or schedule a quick call to answer your questions. And of course, the next webinar. Our next webinar is next week. And next week is Thursday at the same time. And we're just going to do a Play Attention 101 webinar. So if you have specific questions, you want to see a good overview of Play Attention, the process, how it all works, that webinar is great for you. Type in webinar and we'll get you registered for next week. Again, if you're a current client, you probably know the information. If you haven't looked at Play Attention and you want to just attend our next webinar to learn a little bit more about Play Attention and how the whole process works, how you have your executive function coach and your training process, what that all looks like, type in webinar and we'll make certain that you're registered. Again, it is next week at the same time. If you can't attend live, no worries. We always send out the recording to everyone who registers. Thank you so much, everyone, for attending today. I'll leave this list up so you can type in whatever you'd like us to do for your next steps. But I really appreciate you taking out the time today. I know that it's been busy with all the holidays and you're getting prepared for next week. But I really do wish that all of you have a happy, successful new year. And hopefully we'll be working with all of you very soon. Thanks so much, everyone. Take care, and we'll see you soon at our next webinar.